All right, so the title of this video is I journaled for 1,000 days. Here's what I learned. But the truth is, I've journaled for way more than 1,000 days. It's been like 15 years, and a lot of that has been daily journaling. And I want to share with you three of the most impactful and unexpected lessons that I've gained from this practice of journaling and why it is so important to me, why I find it to be one of the most high impact activities anybody can do to transform their life. So let's dive right into it. Number one, the first lesson that I've learned from journaling is that journaling taught me how to think more clearly and how to articulate my thoughts. See, for a lot of us, we never sit down to really unpack what we think on a topic. If you're like me, you're more of a lily pad thinker. Inside of your own mind, you have this chaos, this jumble of thoughts that are jumping from one lily pad to the next lily pad and just bouncing around, frittering on the surface. You never go beneath and go deep to the bottom of the pond. And it's at the bottom of the pond that you gain clarity, that you gain deep understanding of a topic or about your understanding of a topic. And so without the act of writing, we 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 lie to ourselves and convince ourselves that we have deeper thoughts on a topic than we really do. And the reason that we think that is because we think the same thought over and over and over and over. But just because you're cycling on the same thought 1,000 times doesn't mean that you have a deep, well-regarded understanding of that thought. And this became very clear to me when I started journaling and trying to force those thoughts, trying to force the chaotic jumble through my pen tip or through my fingertips into the Word doc. And I started to realize, holy crap, I don't really know how to articulate my argument. I don't know how to write it concisely and precisely in a way that can persuade or influence or impact. And because I can't do that on the written word when I have all the time in the world, how could I ever possibly hope to articulate this in a conversation to somebody else? And it revealed to me that I know so little about what I think I know. So that was the very first thing, was gaining a better understanding, not just of like topics in general, which writing will help you do that, but helping you formulate your own thoughts, your own original, unique thoughts. What do you believe on a topic? And it's only in that act of writing it out that you can see the words, that you can wrestle with the thoughts. It's not and that might be the most beautiful way of thinking about journaling or thinking about writing, right? We all have these monkey minds that just want to jump from tree branch to tree branch, from thought to thought. And this is why meditating is so difficult. You sit down and your mind immediately starts to race off. Writing is the process of holding your monkey mind's hand and then leading it, kicking and screaming, from one thought to the next thought and connecting them in a cohesive, coherent manner. It's very difficult, and that's why most people don't do it. But it's one of the most beautiful things that you can do if you want to become a deeper thinker and a better communicator. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is that in the process of journaling, I have learned more about myself through self-reflection and through wrestling with those thoughts than I would have ever uncovered on my own. Just whether that's in therapy or talking to friends, it's in the act of writing out my thoughts and engaging with myself and then asking as the words hit the page, is that true? Do I believe that about myself? It's been the ultimate form of therapy. And one of the most beautiful things that's come out of this is I use my journal now as a means for reflecting on my life and retelling stories about myself to myself. And it's really cool because before I started journaling, I never really took time to think about my past. I never thought about my childhood. I didn't think about that thing that happened in high school. I didn't think deeply about my own experiences. And as I think it was Archimedes, no, it's probably not Archimedes, but somebody said, right, the unexamined life, I think it was Aristotle, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I wasn't examining my life. I wasn't reflecting on the stories, the things that had occurred, and then trying to attribute meaning to them, trying to understand, why did I do this in this moment? Why did I act in that way? And it's through this process of journaling and starting to express those stories that I started to understand and see the patterns in my own behavior. When this happens, this is how I react. This is why I react in this way. And that has been an incredible gift, not only for just better understanding myself, but then as a consequence to be able to take those stories and share them with others. Again, stories are the vehicles through which we connect ideas with other humans, right? It's the source code of the human experience. And the more you understand your stories, the more able you are to connect them in a meaningful way to other people, because we all share very similar threads, very similar storylines. And so your story can be the vehicle through which somebody else gets, the transformation without the trauma. And if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur, like, that is one of the most powerful skills that you can have, is helping people understand how your product or service can help them get the solution, get the desired end state that they have for themselves, without going through all the pain and turmoil and turbulence that you did to come up with the solution in the first place. And so that's the second lesson that I've learned from journaling, is just the depth of self-reflection and understanding, and your ability to articulate your own stories back to the world. The third thing, and this one is very surprising. It surprises me every time I experience it, but it's one of the most, it's beautiful. So there is an unbelievable gift that you get to give to yourself when you go back and read something that you wrote at a different point in your life when you were experiencing something else. It's an incredible gift to go back and glimpse the mind of your younger self. I don't get emotionally choked up very often, but I did fairly recently, as I went back and read a journal entry from a time when I was struggling with something, and just feeling so grateful to my younger self for taking the time to sit down and create that piece of work, so that future me would have this thing that could go back in time and touch and feel and see. And it made me incredibly grateful to myself, to my former self. Made me incredibly grateful for the fact that he was able to discipline himself enough and show up to and do the work. Because journaling is not easy. Writing is not easy. It's very easy to want to put it off and not engage with it. So I was just incredibly grateful for this gift to my future self. But the other way I want you to think about this is that your journals, or the content that you put out onto the internet, content like this is also a form of a gift that you get to give your future self. But not only yourself, it's a gift that you can give to your family and to your friends, your kids, if you have such. Think about 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, your kids are grown up, and how amazing would it be to be able to give them a journal that you wrote when you were in your 20s? And that might be embarrassing, right? There's probably some embarrassing things in there that maybe you don't want your kids to know about, or like that you're struggling with. But there's also something really beautiful about getting to go into the mind of somebody that you love on such a deep level, or just engaging with a video that they put out and seeing who they were at 32 years old. I would give anything to be able to see a daily video from my dad when he was in his 20s and his 30s, or my grandfather when he was in his 20s and his 30s, just to see what they thought of the world, how they were interacting with it. And that's a gift that you could give your future generations right now if you were to sit down and start journaling and start video journaling, if that's, what calls to you more than actually writing. But actually sitting down and doing the work is one of the most beautiful gifts you can give yourself. And I pray that you do this so that someday you can look back with fondness and affection for your younger self, rather than looking back with regret. Looking back and saying, I really wish my younger self would have just done that, because now I don't even remember anymore what I was going through. I don't even remember what I was thinking at the time. So if you love yourself, go journal. Learn about yourself, learn to tell your stories, learn how to communicate your ideas in an impactful way, and give the future you a gift that in the moment it's free to give, and I promise it's going to pay dividends for the rest of your life. So go journal. I'll see you guys in the next episode.